We're joined for this week's Q&A by Jordan Marr. So, Jordan, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Just want to kick off just asking what you got up to during the pandemic and how you sort of managed to pass your time.
So obviously pretty disappointed that the season got cancelled. So I ended up sticking around Peterborough for pretty much all the lockdown. I was working with the previous owners, Dalrod, for about a year, and then I think April this year, it was kind of confirmed with the new directors, and then I started working in the office. This is my office here. Started working with mostly Slava day-to-day basis to try get things set up in preparation for the season.
We'll go to our first fan submission, which is actually through Instagram. It's from Millie, who said, "Why did you start playing ice hockey?"
So I originally started roller hockey first. I played roller hockey for 5 or 6 years, but I played for the Benarty Blackhawks at roller hockey. And how I got into roller was watching the Mighty Ducks. Watched it one Christmas, and then there was a kid who lived next door to my gran, and he played for the Benarty Blackhawks, and I just started playing in the street with him, and then it just went from there. I really enjoyed it. Started off as a player, and then eventually became a goalie.
Stevie on Facebook wants to know what made you become a netminder of all things.
So I wasn't the most athletic kid growing up. I thought that all the skating you have to do as a player was a bit too much, and I thought that being a goalie looked a bit easier. You didn't have to skate as much, and I kind of liked the kit as well. Like, I thought the kit looked really cool, like the helmets, the catchers, the blocker, the pads and stuff. So I kind of gravitated towards that. It was kind of the same with football when I was growing up. Like, I wasn't the most athletic kid, so I thought I'll be the goalie instead of having to chase the ball or the puck. The puck or ball comes to me.
Scott, also on Facebook, asks, "Is there a reason why you wear number 33, since a lot of netminders tend to wear numbers sort of in that range normally?"
Yeah, I think apart from number 1, I think most goalies, if you look at the NHL, most guys are either 29 or in the 30s. I started wearing 33 because growing up, my favourite goalie was Patrick Waugh, who played for Montreal Canadiens and Colorado Avalanche. And I think he's probably the best goalie all time. I think everywhere he went, he won. He won a couple of Conn Smythe trophies as the playoff MVP, and I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was something that I kind of aspired to, like to be that guy that wins trophies, like helps your team win trophies and gives your team a chance to win. So yeah, I'd say probably because of Patrick Waugh.
Another one from Facebook. Charles asks, "Who became netminder first, Rennie or yourself?"
So it was me. There's a little bit of an age difference between me and Rennie. It's like 6.5, 7 years. So when I started roller, I think it was like 8. So Rennie was like either 1 or turning 2. So pretty much most of his life, Rennie's been a bit of a rink rat. He's always been getting dragged to rinks around the country wherever I was playing, and he wanted to be a goalie right away. But we kind of decided it'd probably be better for him to be a player first for a couple of years to see if he liked it and to work on his skating. And I think it was when he was maybe 5 or 6, he became a goalie basically full time. And so me first. I was the goalie first, and then Rennie followed in my footsteps.
Staying on Facebook with Chanel, and also on the subject of your brother, how do you and Rennie cope when you're both playing each other? Does the banter stay? Does it stay on the ice, or do you banter before and after the matches?
I think the first time we ever truly played against each other was in Peterborough, and at warm-ups we kind of stretched at similar parts of the ice, and we're just stretching, and I kind of looked over at him, and we just kind of laughed that it was finally happening, because our family kind of joked about it, that we'd eventually play against each other, and it finally happened. I wouldn't really say. I mean, we're competitive. I think he plays with a really good team in Swindon, and the last couple of years we've been really competitive, and we're kind of both title challengers and challenging for the same trophies. But really, once the game starts, he's just another goalie that's trying to help his team win, and I'm just another goalie that's trying to help their team win. So I think, most games we'll speak after the game and just kind of talk about how the game unrolled and what kind of happened. But yeah, like aside from being a rival goalie, like he is my brother, and I do want him to do well. He's worked really hard to get to this point in his career. I think obviously he went from the SNL in Scotland to backing up in Coventry for a couple of years, and he developed so much, training with like really high-end guys for a couple of years, but I never really got a chance to play. So I think it was he joined Swindon the year the EPL collapsed. So Swindon before that had Stevie Lyle. So Stevie Lyle was one of my favourite goalies, British goalies growing up, him and Stephen Murphy, and obviously they're quite big shoes to fill. And I think Rennie done a really good job taking over for Stevie, and just won a couple of trophies in Swindon. And yeah, obviously I don't want to win too many trophies, but yeah, if I'm not going to win, it's good to see my brother doing well as well.
Kevin on Instagram asks, which teammate has the hardest shot?
If we're talking about a hardest in like terms of like how when it hits you it hurts, probably in the past Pete. That's no fun to get in front of, and especially in training. But regarding like hardest to track and kind of read the release and see where it's going, probably Paddy. I mean, usually you take like a couple months or a year or 2 seasons, and you kind of know, you can roughly understand where it's going to go. But like, yeah, like when Paddy comes down on me, like you think he's going high glove and it ends up going low blocker, or you think it's going one way and it ends up going the other. So Paddy's release is probably the best I've ever faced and against, or like as a teammate. Like I think that's why he's so successful, is that you don't know if he's going to pass, you don't know what way he's shooting, and yeah, I still struggle reading his release nowadays.
Back to Facebook, Lee wants to know, if you weren't playing ice hockey for a sport, what would you be doing, or what would you be playing instead?
I'd like to think I'd be a professional footballer, but as I said, I wasn't very athletic when I was younger. Well, my dad, he used to play for Hearts in the 80s and lower league in Scotland for years and years, and me and Rennie, obviously we really enjoy football. We're big Hearts fans. I never really played really competitively growing up. Rennie played until it kind of started clashing with hockey. I played a year in university for Finlandia University in my senior year as a left back. I think I was playing, most of the guys on my team were like 17, 18, right out of high school, and there's 2 or 3 hockey players that were like 22, 23, 24 year olds. So we were kind of looked upon the leaderships, even though we're in the grey. So I'd like to say football, but I wasn't that good.
Pete on Facebook, our DJ, he wants to know, well, he asks, we all know Gloria by Laura Branigan is your tune, and we've all seen the dance, and he promises he'll play it whenever he can. He says, what other music are you into, though? Do you have any albums that you sort of listen to on loop, like over and over again?
So I'm a big rock and kind of metal music fan. My favourite band of all time is probably the Foo Fighters. I have a Foo Fighters tattoo on my back and my shoulder. So their first album, Foo Fighters by the Foo Fighters, it's got like the ray gun. It's their album cover. That's probably my most listened to album. But other bands that really like, Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Queens of the Stone Age, and the last couple of years there's a band called Baroness. They're no super popular, but I was lucky enough, I think it was the 18-19 season, they were playing in Birmingham, so I got to go see them at one of their concerts at the Birmingham O2, and that was unbelievable. And I actually met their lead singer after we were walking back to the hotel, and maybe had a couple beers. I was like, oh my god, it's him, and he was kind enough to take a picture with me and chat away for a little bit. But yeah, a lot. I like a lot, like Laura Branigan, the 80s stuff. My parents, obviously, they are big Duran fans and that, so I kind of grew up with a mix of music in our house.
Another question from Facebook. This one's from Steve Coulson, and he says, the previous season when we played, obviously, we had the pleasure of seeing Alice Padlek doing the Peterborough Shuffle on the ice. He wants to know, do we get the pleasure of seeing you do your Staying Alive routine this season?
So that what Steve's referring to is I think it was the other day, maybe yesterday, like a Facebook memory popped up, and it was a video of me doing a dance routine to Staying Alive. So this is when I went to Ontario Hockey Academy, and as part of her PE lesson, we had to design a dynamic warm-up routine, but I had to incorporate a dance. So I just shared that the other day, and obviously Steve was sending me a couple messages about it. No, I'm not planning on introducing that to the ice. I think I'll stick to trying to stop pucks.
So final question we've got from Patrick on Facebook, and he says, what's your favourite memory of playing ice hockey?
That's tough. I think I've played hockey for quite a long time now. I think one of them is probably playing for the Fife Flyers when I was like 15, the first time I played for them, and then probably playing for them in the Week League. I think it's probably the same for a lot of guys in Peterborough. Playing for the Phantoms is a huge honour, their local team. So for me, probably playing for Fife, and then playing college hockey as well in the US. I think that was, ever since I played, I think that was always my goal, and I managed to do that. I think it was back in 2011, 2012. And then more recently, probably the Phantoms treble season, probably that first trophy, because obviously it's coming to a new team, and I think the year before they just kind of, at the last hurdle, lost the league and maybe lost in a semi-final or a final of the cup a couple of years before, and to actually win, you saw how much it meant to guys like especially Jimmy and Robbie Ferrara and Norks and stuff, like to win a trophy and kind of give the fans what they wanted. Because I know obviously there was a bit of movement with players and stuff, and everybody just wants to make sure that the league's stable and you can compete. But I think to win that trophy, that first trophy of the treble winning season, that was probably one of my favourite memories. Phantoms fans, thank you so much for all your support through all of the lockdowns. I think a club like the Phantoms, we really depend on fan support, and I think on Sunday night versus Milton Keynes, while the result was maybe not what we wanted, I think the barn was rocking, and I was actually so surprised, even for a pre-season game, how many fans turned up. So yeah, we really appreciate your support, and hopefully you can keep supporting us throughout the season, and hopefully we can give you something to cheer about.
Jordan, thanks very much for joining us, and good luck for the weekend.
No problem, Matt. Thank you.